David had gone through marriage once before crossing paths with Ashley. His first wife had vanished from his life after a chance meeting with a soldier in a restaurant, walking out on both David and their child without a backward glance. The sting of that abandonment left David certain that he'd never open his heart again. But life has a strange way of unraveling the beliefs we hold onto. Somewhere along the way, he felt that unmistakable spark of love return. Ashley was 23, newly graduated, and struggling to gain a foothold in the job market. Every application she submitted ended in rejection, companies claiming she lacked the experience they wanted. It was a bitter pill to swallow, especially for someone who had thrown herself into internships and summer work to build a strong resume. One afternoon, disheartened by yet another letdown, she sat on a park bench with tears silently spilling down her cheeks. That's when David, out on a walk with his young daughter, happened to pass by. He noticed Ashley's tear-streaked face and felt a twist of compassion in his chest. Without hesitation, he approached and gently asked if she was all right. And just like that, their story began. Ashley told him about the latest disastrous interview. Her voice trembled as she described how employers scoffed at her confidence, repeating the same tired phrase about needing more experience. As she spoke, David's daughter, Alyssa, shyly offered Ashley a drawing she'd made earlier that day at a cafe. Ashley accepted the gift with wide eyes and held onto it like it was the most meaningful thing in the world. At the time, David owned a modest business, a children's learning center. He realized the open administrator position wasn't exactly aligned with Ashley's academic background, but he offered her a temporary role anyway. She said yes, more out of necessity than ambition. Alone in a new city, low on funds, and without many options, she needed whatever work she could get. Over time, David found himself quietly falling for her. He'd stop by the center with fresh flowers, surprise her during lunch breaks with pastries still warm from the oven and coffee that filled the air with comforting aroma. Eventually, he gathered the nerve to ask her out on a proper date. Ashley agreed without missing a beat. She'd been drawn to him ever since he approached her in the park that day. From there, their bond only deepened. 6 months later they moved in together. A year after that, David popped the question. Even he was surprised by how natural it felt, considering he once believed his heart had permanently closed. Years passed. Alyssa, David's daughter, was nearly grown now, finishing high school and planning for university life in a bustling city. She shared a close, loving relationship with Ashley, who had become much more than a stepmother. She had truly stepped into the role of a parent, something Alyssa often acknowledged. David's business was thriving, and Ashley continued working alongside him. She'd briefly explored job opportunities in her original field of study but came to realize her passion didn't lie there. David, thrilled to have someone so capable and devoted at his side, welcomed her decision. Recently, they'd opened a second location for the learning center. Ashley had taken on the role of temporary administrator there, managing daily operations while David focused on expanding into a new business idea. For a time, she was effectively running the entire place. She turned out to be an exceptional leader, even if the work often kept her at the center late into the evening. Older children had English lessons scheduled after regular hours, and she insisted on overseeing everything personally. The English teacher was a young man named Mike. At first, Ashley admired his professionalism and ability to engage with students. But slowly, something deeper and more dangerous crept in. She began to feel a physical pull toward him, something she tried hard to ignore. Ashley wasn't someone who cheated. Still, every time Mike entered the room, her imagination stirred up scenes that made her pulse quicken. Mike on his end seemed to sense it. He'd offer subtle compliments, ask personal questions with a soft smile, and listen with more interest than strictly necessary. Then, one evening after the final class had wrapped up and everyone else had gone, Mike kissed her. In that moment, it felt like fireworks exploded behind Ashley's eyes. It was intoxicating, thrilling in a way she hadn't felt in years, but laced with deep, undeniable guilt. She was locked in a passionate kiss with a man who wasn't her husband. As her secret relationship with Mike grew more intense, the foundation of her marriage to David began to crack. David was drowning in stress, consumed by the demands of growing his latest business venture. His constant exhaustion and short temper began to wear on Ashley's patience. In her mind, she couldn't help drawing comparisons. David, older and weighed down by responsibilities, versus Mike, who was vibrant, relaxed, attractive, and full of energy. She began to see her husband as dull and disconnected next to Mike. David noticed the shift, though he couldn't quite place its cause. Ashley, once gentle and understanding, had turned sharp and easily provoked. She snapped over small things, picked arguments with no warning. David was baffled, silently searching for answers. One afternoon, while waiting in his office for a business associate to arrive, a sudden urge struck him. He decided to check the live security footage from the center Ashley managed. Evening classes should have been underway, so she would definitely be on site. But when David pulled up the feed, there was no one on the screen. He switched through camera views, puzzled. Then, as he clicked over to the storage room camera in the back, the image froze him in place. There was Ashley, kneeling in front of someone. A chill ran through David's body. He immediately hit record, capturing the footage before burying his face in his hands. He pressed so hard on his eyes that bursts of color danced behind his closed lids. Everything around him collapsed into a silent storm. In that moment, the puzzle pieces aligned. The mood swings, the unexplained hostility, the emotional distance. It all made sense. He canceled the meeting, saved the video to a flash drive, and drove home in silence. Ashley was already there when he walked through the door. Just like any other night, she greeted him casually with a quick kiss on the cheek. David instinctively pulled back. All he could see in his mind was that video looping over and over. He felt sick. But he couldn't confront her, not yet. That night, he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, sleep nowhere to be found. His mind churned restlessly, until a dark and vengeful idea began to form. First it shocked him. Then it felt like clarity, the perfect retaliation. He decided to organize a small party, something to celebrate the supposed success of his new business expansion. But beneath that innocent premise, he had a plan. David booked a banquet hall with a large screen and told the staff to play a specific clip from his USB drive at a particular point during the night. It cost a small fortune, but he didn't care. He wanted to destroy the facade Ashley had built and expose her for what she'd done, publicly. Completely unaware of what was coming, Ashley spent the evening chatting happily, sharing pictures Alyssa had sent from college, telling David about her day. She had no idea he was watching her with a mask of politeness, biding his time. Then came the toast. David stood, raised his glass, and began a short speech. He turned to Ashley with a seemingly affectionate smile. And just then the screens flickered to life. The footage played, the moment in the back room, crystal clear for everyone to see. Gasps echoed. Ashley's face drained of color. She stood frozen for a second, then burst into uncontrollable sobs and fled the hall. Their divorce was long, bitter, and ugly. The arguments over property were relentless. Ashley swung between trying to sabotage David's business deals and pleading with him to give her another chance. It was a whirlwind of emotional chaos. When the dust finally settled, David felt an enormous weight lift off his chest. Alyssa, once deeply fond of Ashley, cut all ties with her. The betrayal had erased every bit of affection. As for Mike, he disappeared the second things turned serious. The moment he realized how tangled and messy the affair had become, he ghosted Ashley completely, blocked her, quit his job, and vanished. Ashley moved into a modest apartment. She tried to rebuild, but that spark of happiness she once felt, the one from the day she met David, never returned. Her choice had cost her everything, and there was no going back.